Let's go ahead and spend some time talking about how to be able to use text in a web comp layout for use in Dreamweaver. I'm going to click on File, I'm going to click on New, and I'm going to go to a 955 by 600 layout. And right off the bat, we'll go ahead and we'll set up that solid color fill layer of black, and we'll click OK. That's going to be my web background. Let's go ahead and select the right thing this time, my web background, and group it. And background elements. This time I want to try something a little different though. I'm going to leave that as my background, but on top of that I'm going to go ahead and put a gradient background layer. And I'm going to use a black to a white gradient, but not necessarily that white. I'm actually looking for more of a darker gray. So I'll go ahead and I'll grab this option here. Actually, let me just go over it. If you're in the gradient fill layer here, if you click here, you can edit the gradient. I'm going to edit this white stopper, and I'm just going to make it slightly above the black. It kind of gives a little bit of a textured look there, which I happen to think is pretty cool. So we'll just do that. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to click OK here, and I'll reverse it to -90. And maybe what I'll do is I'll scale it a little bit. You could even grab this and kind of move it up and down. So once you have it exactly where you want it, you're going to click OK. Now, on top of that, I'll put in a square shape, and I'll drag it out like so. Once we have that set, looks like I have a stroke already set up for it. Let's just examine what the stroke looks like. The stroke is a 1 pixel dark gray stroke. That looks good. I'm going to keep that. And the overview, or the shell of the website, looks pretty good. Now, I want to start adding some type. Type's pretty straightforward, and I usually tell people, think of it this way when you're working with type. If the font you're going to use for the web layout is one of the basic fonts, like Arial, Helvetica, Times, then no, you don't have to set up a graphic in Photoshop that you're going to cut into Dreamweaver. If you have a doubt as to whether or not that font is going to be on another person's computer, then you're going to be making a graphic. I want to make myself just a regular section here, so I'm just going to single click. I'm going to use Century Gothic, and I have a doubt. I don't know if everybody has Century Gothic. I'm going to hit my caps, and I'm going to type in Rafael Concepcion. Maybe a little too big, so I'll highlight it, and I'm going to do a Command Shift less than. We'll make this a little smaller. I could also just do it a lot faster by just dragging here. I was just showing you there. Now make this a little smaller. And let's just do RC. Actually, no, let's use my full name because it looks a little more international. I like it. It gives me that flair. Now, I'm going to use my Move tool, and I always do this. This is a quick way to be able to do it. I switch to the Move tool. I'll do a Command A to select all. I have my layer highlighted here that automatically lets me center there. Deselect. Now, I'm going to Alt drag a copy of this and bring this down. And I'm going to type in this section, photography and design. I'll select all. Again, make this a little smaller, but then kind of fan this out a little bit by just holding down the Alt key. Now I made myself a little bit. Let's get it on that. Do a Command Enter to commit this. And there we go. There's our little logo. I'm going to go ahead and select my text tool, and maybe what I'll do is I'll give this a different color. Let's try something like this. A little darker. That looks good. Now, could I add some other elements to this? Sure. I mean, why not? I can go ahead and select here this shape tool, and we have this decoration. I can go ahead and bring a decoration out here. And using the Move tool, I'll go ahead and I'll do a Command J to make a copy. Command T to transform, and then just do a right click on the center, and then flip horizontal, drag this out to the left. Once I've done that, hit the Enter key, and then deselect. So now I've set up a couple of different ideas, or a couple of different shapes to be able to just make a basic idea. That's going to be the top of the portfolio. Now, if you highlight this section here, let's say the photography and design, the way that I did the tracking of the letters, just hold down the Alt key and just left or right to be able to increase or decrease. If you had something that was several spaces. Let's say that I did this, right? And I said, this is another section of the site. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to be able to change the line height of this. I can hold on the Option key and make this up and down. So that would be the line spacing. So Option left deals with the tracking. Option up and down deals with the line height. And those come in very, very handy. What comes in the most handy is when you're done. Let's say that I have to do a block of text here. I don't want to use the same text. So what I would do is go over to the character palette and click on the flyout and reset your character. That resets everything and gets you right back to your default character. Now I can go ahead and select white, and I'm done. But we're running into a problem here. The problem is I'm going to want to put some type onto this page, and I don't have any type. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up Safari, and in Safari I'll go to lipsim.org. That'll bring you to lipsim.lipsim.com. In here, you can generate a whole bunch of dummy text. So I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to choose how many paragraphs of dummy text I'd like to use, and I'm going to click on Generate or in Ipsum. That will allow me to grab some blocks of text that I can use. Let's just say that I use that much. I'm going to do copy, and then I'm going to minimize. I'm going to come back into my website layout here, and I'm going to click and drag. Once I've done a click and drag, I'm going to align to the left. Matter of fact, let me just do this. Let me just reset my character. And we'll set to white. Click OK. And then I'm going to paste. So there's my type. I'm going to do a Command Enter to commit this. So now we have type on the page. Right? And I can go ahead and I can move it around. What I'm going to do from here is I'm going to open a file, and I'll go into your Downloads folder, and inside of your Downloads folder I have something called TUFAs. I'm going to click Open. I'm going to select all, copy, and I'm going to paste it in here and move it around. Now, I gave you this TUFAs because I wanted to give you something that was a little bit smaller. Now you're trying to do a web comp, and you're saying to yourself, all right, well, I have the TUFAs image, and I want to put this image here, and I want the text to kind of flow around it, because it's kind of what it's going to look like when you get to a website. How do I do that? I'll show you. Hit the pen, and inside the pen, make sure that you have the shape layer being the first option that you're using. This option right here, shape layers. Now, I usually just place it right over the text, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click around this left edge of the graphic. I'll go ahead and click there, then I'll click down here, then I'll click right there, then I'll click right here, and then I'll go right back to the beginning holding down the Shift key. So I've just made this shape that goes around this entire block, but omits this area. Once that's done, I'm going to right click, and using the move tool, I'm going to right click and just move my text out of the way, and then I'll highlight all of it, and I'll copy it. Now, having it copied, I can just go right back into this area here, and let's just go ahead and make sure that we're in the right area. I'm going to grab this layer, that's the shape, and bring it up. Notice if I put my cursor right over it, you get an I-beam with a circle around it. That means that you're going to type inside this layer. Once you click, you're inside a layer, and you can paste. Let's go ahead and go in here, and we'll take this information and we'll just paste. We're going to select all of it, and having it selected, I'll go ahead and I'll move this up to the top. Select my move tool and then deselect this area. Now I can grab this section here and move it around if I'd like. If I want it here, or if I want to be able to make a skinnier column, I can go ahead and just click inside of it and drag from a corner handle. Now, this gives us a little bit more of an idea of what an actual website would look like, because we're using this to kind of fake a reflow. We can position the graphic a little bit better there, and just kind of gives us a good idea of what it's going to look like. What we're missing here is a little bit of a navigation up at the top, and we can use just a simple text layer to be able to make that happen. I'm going to select my text layer, and I'm going to click over here at the top. Let's just type out our navigation. I'm going to set my caps lock, and I'm going to type in about, I'm going to give myself 5 spaces. And then after that, I'm going to say biography. I'm going to give myself 5 spaces. I'm going to type in blog. Again, I'm going to give myself 5 spaces. Then I'm going to type in galleries, another 5 spaces, and then contact. Now that I have that all set, I did a Command Enter, and I'm moving this towards the center. I'm going to switch back over to the Type tool, and I'll use my same Century Gothic, and I'll crank up the size so that I could have something a little bit better. And maybe what I'll do is actually come in here and kind of space these out a little bit more by just holding down the Alt key and hitting the right and left arrows. Command Enter when I'm done. I can get in, move this over here, and then maybe I can go ahead and just select all of this and just make this font size just a little bit smaller. And there you go. Just a couple of different text layers, and now you have yourself something that you can kind of cut out and move into a dream.